Guys, I hate to use the term "this time's different," but something is different with Ethereum this cycle. We can see retail are selling Ethereum even though the price is going up. And last cycle, it was the opposite, right? Retail would FOMO in as the price continues to go to the upside. More and more retail would come in. Retail were buying green candles and they were selling red candles, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the data I'm seeing. This is a chart I see thrown around quite often saying that, when we go into this red zone, it's the end of the market. I'm going to talk about why I think that is absolute BS. Some interesting data I have found that might help us identify when the top of this market is and when the bottom of the market is, because you only really need to be good at two things. You have to be good at trying to sell near the top, and you have to be good at trying to buy near the bottom. The rest of it is just BS, right? Are we going up? Are we going down? If you're buying in the bear market around here, you don't really care, right? You don't really care. You're taking profits. You've already won. If you're buying down here, you don't care about the weekly. You don't care about the monthly. You're just taking profits as it goes up. So we only need to be good at two things, and we have so many charts that almost are embarrassing, right? Buy green, sell red. Buy green, sell red. Buy green, sell red. It's almost embarrassing that people lose, right? When we have all of this data that kind of makes it easy for us, but still we lose. And why do we lose? Because we get too greedy. Humans get greedy. I want more. I want more. I've only made a 5x. I've only made a 10x. I've only made a 20x. And people continue to hold. But something's changing, because usually last cycle, Ethereum was the case of I want more, I want more, I want more, right? Even when I was taking profits, I was like, guys, it was $200, it's now 4,000. I'm going to take some profits off the table. But everyone was calling for Ethereum to $10,000. Ethereum's going to 10K. You've just made a 20, 30, 40x, but you still want your 50x. You still want your 60x. Why? Human greed is usually what runs this space and runs the market. But why aren't we seeing that this cycle? Why are we seeing retail actually selling into a pump? And look how aggressively they're selling on Ethereum now, right? Ethereum has hit all-time high and their sales are accelerating. So something's changed. We're going to talk about my opinion on this and what I think is going on here. And retail are definitely getting smarter. Okay, so first of all, I'd say retail are getting smarter. They're studying more. There's more content. There's so much content out there on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, on every platform you can imagine. There is constant market cycle data, bear market, bull market cycles, recession info. There's so much information, and I think more and more people are studying. Maybe it's a sign of the times. I would say it's because a lot of retail came into the market last cycle. Elon Musk came in. He has a huge retail following. He started to talk about crypto. People started to learn, what's this crypto? If Elon's getting into it, maybe I should get into it. We had so much retail come in last cycle, which is why so many altcoins done ridiculous gains, ridiculous pumps. There was a select few altcoins. I think there was less than 3,000 altcoins last cycle, and now there's over 3 million. And it was insane, right? Everything was pumping. You could literally spin a wheel on CoinMarketCap, put your money in something, and it would be like 5x up later, a couple of months later. It was crazy how much retail came in. And those retail were not educated. They were literally coming in off the FOMO, off the euphoria, and had no idea how sort of market cycles work and the 70-80% crash that's usually to follow, 90% crash in altcoins. And they were just buying. Everyone was saying, buy the dip, FOMO, Ethereum's going to 10K, and they're just buying. I think this cycle, they've sussed the game, and they know they're familiar with charts, they're familiar with data, they're familiar with charts like this, things like this that are saying, we're close to a crash, we're close to the end. And I feel like they're taking profits. I feel like they're getting smarter. I feel like they're taking profits. I really don't think we need to overthink it. I feel like they're taking profits. They know that historically the bull run ends savagely. They probably held a lot of their altcoins last cycle down. They probably held a lot of their Bitcoin down. And they probably said, you know what, next cycle I'm not going to make that mistake, just as I did, right? I said next cycle I'm not actually going to try and time the top. I'm going to take profits in the peaks. Every time we peak and we go into euphoria, most of our profit taking was extreme greed, right? Extreme greed here, it was actually the best time to take profits for me personally. And a lot of altcoins never recovered, right? So I think retail are getting smarter. And even when we were buying the dip, I mean, we are retail, right? I am retail. I'm not an institution. And I posted here saying we're not quite there yet. This is in the tariff crash. Do you remember when the market crashed on tariffs? And I said, we're not quite there yet, but let's keep an eye on it. It would be absolutely beautiful if we push this trend line. BTC would be huge conviction on longs, spot buys, stocks, leverage, and crypto. I think most stocks doubled here. Palantir went crazy. Nvidia was half the price it is now, less than that. I think Nvidia done over 100% return from this support line here. We've got a little bit of an advantage because we've got the SMC bot, and every time it came down to this, we had a buy signal, and then we came down again, and history tends to repeat, right? So yeah, we were retail, and it was actually retail that were buying this tariff dip. When the S&P crashed so much, it was actually retail who were buying, and it was the institutions who didn't buy, and it was the institutions who were shorting. So we're seeing some sort of paradigm shift here where even today, most of the buy pressure all the way up to the S&P all-time high has been retail, and it's the actual institutions and the smart money who have been hating on this V-shaped recovery. Very, very surprising data. It doesn't usually work like this. Usually it's the institutions that are buy, then the retail FOMO in, and then we crash. Okay, so what's going to happen this cycle? I don't know. This is stocks, of course. We're talking about crypto and stocks, two different markets, but historically Bitcoin tends to follow the NASDAQ. Now, I've found something interesting on this chart. I think I've seen Cathie Wood bring this up a couple of times. I've seen multiple different investors and institutions talk about this chart. And one thing we have to remember is that when we're in crypto, when we're in investing, we get biased, right? We want something to be true. I still have 30% of my portfolio in Casper. Not in total, but a percentage of it. I still have 30% of my portfolio in crypto. Some of it's in Casper, Render, Solana, Ethereum. And I'm biased. I want the market to rally, but I'm also realistic, and I know that the market's about to come to an end. So I don't want to be that sucker who sits and holds his bag all the way down to the yellow, orange, red again, right? Because I know the next phase after green is yellow, orange, red, yellow, orange, red, yellow, orange, red, bear market, bear market, bear market, right? This is actually the area, the danger zone where historically we crash. And, I don't want to be that sucker that holds, but, I'll look at the bullish arguments, and there is some bullish arguments in the space, which is why obviously I would have sold my 30% bag if I didn't think there was some bullish arguments in the space. But this chart, I don't like it. They're saying that when we come into the red, it's historically the top of the market. Well, what happened last cycle? We came into the red briefly, and it wasn't the top. I mean, you're not going to be upset if you sold here. It wasn't the top. The top actually followed in November. Okay, so this was March, and then the top followed November. So first of all, it was not accurate last cycle. If you sold here, I'm sure you weren't upset taking profits. Like, it wasn't a bad reference to take some profits off the table. But you probably would have thought, we're going into a bear market here. You probably went short on the market because you've just hit this red zone. Last time you hit this red zone, it was the bear market. I reckon that was to entice a lot of shorts. I think this was a massive short squeeze, by the way, that we had last cycle. And then, so it went into the red, you went short, you thought you was in a bear market, then we went back into a bull market. It was very hard to trade. This. So something I found on this chart is we can clearly see that these are getting lower and lower. Okay, so look at the height of this one, look at the height of this one. We can clearly see there's a trend here, trend into the downside. You can't draw on this, so what I've done is I've put it over here. So if we go and draw on this, so let's draw a trend line here. So let's drag this trend line. If we bring this up here, let's make it a bit wider. Really, I shouldn't be doing it from 2013, 2014. It was a completely different market. There was not many institutions in. You could even say 2018 we shouldn't be comparing against 2018, but it's the most recent data we have. It did become slightly more institutionalized. It was really last cycle where we had a lot of serious institutions coming in. And I mean, look, you could literally draw this, right? You could literally draw this chart and you have descending triangle. and we're at resistance on this MVRZ. We're at resistance. I'm not saying that we're not going to go back into the red. I'm just saying there's a clear pattern here, which I don't see anyone talking about. And this actually lines up with a lot of our other signals that this might actually be the top of the market. And what if everyone is expecting us to go into this red and they're looking at Cathie Wood saying this is where we're all going to sell? You know, I don't like these signs where everyone says this is where we're all going to sell. This is where the top is, and we all make money. Look, it happened the last 2 times. It happens the first time, okay, and then people say it might happen the second time. There's a potential for it to happen the second time. This might be why we had so many shorts come in, and this might be why we had this massive short squeeze. But there's a chance. But when it gets to the third and fourth time, it can be a little bit, you know, if we're all expecting this to happen. You know, it's a sign of caution. So yeah, look, there's a clear trend line there. Can we break above this? Let's see if we can break above this. Let's see if we can start getting higher. I wouldn't be waiting for this red zone. Like, there's people out there who are literally waiting for this red zone to start taking profits, and I think that's a very dangerous strategy. If we have a look at the long-term holder realized price against the MVRV, this is a fantastic indicator. Now, if you look, every time this kind of peaked, we came into a bear market, right? We came to the top, we went into a bear market, and then look at the bear market. When we went blue down here, it was the bottom of the cycle, right? So the best time to accumulate was down here in the blue. Then we went into a bull run. When this started to peak, again, it was the top of the market. We came down into the blue. Look at the blue zone. Like, you couldn't have literally picked a better time to accumulate. And then again, we peaked. This was all-time high, and then green. And this is where we are now. Now, what do you see the chart? I'm not going to draw it. Maybe we can draw it. Let's do the line again anyway, just so we see. I can see another pattern here where, let's go for the last few cycles. So let's drag this down. We can see another pattern here, right? We are clearly dropping each cycle. You know, we're clearly descending lower and lower and lower. I'm not saying that this is going to spike up. I'm just saying we have confluence, right? I'm a trader. I look for confluence. I look for different patterns. I look for repeating patterns that we see. There's so many repeating patterns that, you know, it's almost embarrassing right now, right? That people are saying higher, 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 FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. So we see this same pattern playing out here. What I'm interested in this chart, I'm not really interested in these peaks. Yes, I'll look at these peaks and we can draw these chart lines and, hey, you know, maybe this is more confluence that we're close to the top of the market. I'm really interested in the bear market, right? You only have to get 2 things right. Buy in the bear market, sell in the bull run, right? There's the only 2 things you have to do. To make generational wealth over multiple cycles, over a few cycles, you know, we've just seen Solana do 10x, right? We literally bought in the bear market. Solana done a 10x by the bull run. Happy days. That's 10k to 100k. Bang, go into my next cycle. I want to turn my 100k into a million. 10x. That's 100k to a million. Third cycle, which is what I'm going into next cycle, I want to turn a million into 10 million. 10x. It's only a 10x, right? Money makes money. So all I need to do is buy in the blue zone and sell when we peak. Buy in the blue zone, sell when we peak. Buy in the blue zone, sell when I peak. And if I'm using all of these tools, because these are expensive, not everyone has access to these tools. And I've got Nansen, you know, Nansen's like the Nansen Pro is like $1,000 a month. So some of these tools are really expensive, but they give us such an advantage on the market. And I love this data. I really love this. And look how long we're in the blue zone, guys. When you go into a bear market, one thing I'm going to say to you is when Bitcoin crashes, you're going to feel this urgency and need to buy. And everyone on socials is going to be going, buy the dip. This is your last chance. Buy the dip. It's going to go up. Historically, you don't V-shape recovery from a bear market. You'll go into this period of time where you go into this sideways period, right? You find a bottom and you're normally here for some time, guys. There's no need to panic. One of the biggest mistakes is a lot of people make is they buy in too early. So Bitcoin drops to 90k, they decide to start dollar cost averaging in, when in fact you might still be here in the orange. You might still be here in the orange. You might still be here in the orange. And, you know, then Bitcoin comes down to 40k and you're like, oh, man, I could have made so much more buying here. And altcoins are down 99%. Don't forget, when we go into this blue range on Bitcoin, this is kind of the floor for altcoins as well. Okay, so most altcoins will probably be down 95%, 99%. There's some altcoins that I think are going to 50x next cycle, right? And I want to be in those when they're down. You know, when they're down 99%, 95%, I don't really want to be dollar cost averaging into them It's 70% down because, you know, if they're 70% down, they can still go another 60, 70% down from where you buy, right? So yeah, timing is key. If you can nail this, you nail the cycles, right? Let's have a look. Then we have the stock to flow chart. Now this has been scrutinized and, you know, for good reason. It's been updated, it's been amended. But historically, it's a good reference point. It's pretty accurate. You know, but buying down here in the green would have changed your life. Selling in the red, probably a good idea. Buying down here in the green, changed your life. Selling in the red, not bad. Notice how we went red, yellow, red. That was a very misleading cycle last cycle. And I still think they were trying to liquidate Sam from FTX. Because he was shorting so much on God mode. I think they were trying to short him. I think they were trying to liquidate him. And I feel like it was manipulated. If you remember, Elon Musk and the Twitter CEO, I forget his name, came out and they were all trying to pump the market, like literally talking about how it's going to skyrocket, how it's going to change the world. And we had one of the biggest runs. I don't know what happened, but it was very suspicious. Buying the green, selling the red, GG bro. Why did most people lose? Greed. They held. They got greedy. What happens when you get in the red? Everyone gets more bullish in the red than they do in the green. There is KOLs with millions of followers. Like some of these guys have millions and millions of subscribers. In the green zone this cycle, I won't name them. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes bad calls. I've made some bad calls. But one thing I have not done is got bearish when I'm supposed to buy. Like this is the easiest time. Technically, if you're looking at your charts and tools, this is the easiest time to buy. But everyone gets very bearish when the market is red, when it's dumping, when it's tanking. They get so bearish. And I saw some massive KOLs who've been in the space a very long time. They have no reason to be bearish. And it's almost suspicious to get that bearish, when the price is down 70, 80%. And altcoins are down 95%. Like, how much more are you expecting them to go down? And they said we were going into a multi-year bear market here. They said there's no bull run. We're going into a 3, 4, 4 year bear market. It might be 5 years before we even start to recover. So prepare for craziness in the bear market. There's two types of camps. There's people who just get even more bearish when the market crashes. And then there's people who buy the dip too early, right? So you've got two different camps. So yeah, green, blue. We didn't go into yellow yet, okay? So we didn't go into yellow, and yellow often is the start of the bear market. Now, guys, I've told you before, would I trade just off one chart? Absolutely not. Worst idea ever. Use it as confluence. I'm looking at about 14 different indicators that all show similar sort of patterns, similar kind of floors, similar kind of bottoms. And even this chart, right, every time we came down and touched into this green zone was the bottom of the market. So yeah, I'm looking at multiple different charts that are going to help us nail the bear market again, right? Because we've nailed it. We bought down here. We bought altcoins down here. Some done 10x, some done 20x, some done 50x. And, we've been taking profits, right? You don't have to be a genius in the space. Buy low, sell high. We also have the CVDD, which every time we've come back to this orange line, it's been the bottom of the market, bottom of the market, bottom of the market. Unfortunately, it doesn't predict tops, but when we get close to this orange line, I'm going to go look for confluence. I'm not going to make a decision off one chart. I'm going to look for confluence. All right, we're at the orange line and we're halfway through this blue zone here. Last time, this was the actual bottom. I'm going to try and finesse it, right? I'm literally going to try and finesse it. So we have this, we've talked about this, realized profit and loss, CVDD. And look at this, number of active addresses on Bitcoin is also starting to roll over here, right? So we rallied, people bought, retail stopped buying. So retail stopped buying at all-time highs and actually started to take some profits off the table at all-time highs. But they really started to take profits at 100K, big psychological number. A lot of people were happy with 100K. I would have been happy. I actually took profits on my spot BTC and switched into long positions here, which, changed my life. I said, look, if I hold my Bitcoin here and it does a 2x, it's not really going to change anything for me. Making a 2x on my BTC is not really going to do too much. But if I take leverage here, I can make a lot more money. And I actually ended up taking leverage longs on Bitcoin, and I actually ended up making more than my entire portfolio just long in Bitcoin here. So it was a risk. I took more risk and it ended up paying off. I was confident that we were going to sort of push up towards 100K. But as we got close to 100K, I'm kind of done really. Like 16 to 100K, I'm happy. If it goes to 120, 130, it's not really much of a difference to me. You know, it's fine. It's 20-30%. So yeah, we are starting to get a rollover here. Notice how we started to roll over here last cycle too, and shortly after the price started to tank and started to go into a bear market. So we have started to roll over quite aggressively, really, if you think about it. We've rolled over quite aggressively, but we haven't started to tank just yet. Bhutan, why am I looking at Bhutan? Now, they've smashed it. It wasn't easy to buy this bear market. It was one of the hardest buys. Even myself, like, I was buying and I was super confident on Bitcoin and, you know, the bear market and the bull run cycles, but there was so much FUD. There was so much FUD. We had the USDC depegged. We had Terra Luna collapsed. We had FTX. We had the SEC literally standing on the White House podium saying we are coming for crypto. We had the White House insiders saying crypto's a scam. It's used by criminals. It was insane, and it was not easy to buy. And I like looking at individuals, especially nation states. It's very hard for a nation state to start buying the bottom. And look how heavy they went around the bottom. They really started to buy aggressively around the bottom. And they actually started to sell at 110K. So, you know, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They bought near the bottom and have sold technically close to the top. I'm not saying we're at the top, but, you know, they've started to sell quite aggressively near the top. And... Sorry, they started to sell roughly around 100K, and they're still selling as it pushes above 100K. So clearly they had a target as well. I think a lot of people are looking around 100K to sort of take some profits off the table. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see when they start to buy again. Again, another point of confluence. I'm interested in seeing when people. This is a you know, example of a swing trader and a nation state swing trader, and I like to believe that nation states actually have a lot of the best people in the game on it. Well, we know not every nation state does, because look at Germany. They actually sold, you know, and got wrecked because the price doubled shortly after. But yeah, we can see on chain some nation states that are good swing traders, and it'll be nice to see when they actually start to buy again, because they'll have confidence that we're actually coming to some sort of a floor. And yeah, another point of confluence for us. We also have the SMC bot, right? So, you know, historically, the SMC bot is not going to go into the BTC is not going to go into another bull run without us seeing a buy signal from the SMC bot. So buy signal down here, buy signal down here, buy signal down here. And the sell signal is always going to come late. It's a lagging indicator, so forget the sell signal. If I'm looking at sells, it's usually on the weekly. I'll look at the weekly time frame. If we get a sell on the weekly, yeah, I'll be quite concerned about that. You know, that will be confluence for me to start opening shorts. But on the monthly time frame, phenomenal for buys. And you know, I've drawn out this potential pattern here that I'm kind of looking for as we go into the next cycle. Can we go higher here? Absolutely. Do we have a lot of signs that indicate we might go into a bear market here? Yes. So, you know, no one can tell you when the bear market's going to come, guys. What I can tell you is that most people will be greedy. Most people will hold for higher and higher, and a lot of them will sell. You know, when we break the bull run trend line, they'll sell down here, you know, 80, 90K, 70K. And when that starts, it really can get aggressive. And a lot of people will sell down the bottom. Usually it's retail that sell at the bottom. But like I say, we're seeing a different cycle. We're seeing retail actually start to sell when ETH hits all-time high, and when BTC hits all-time high. We're starting to see them take profits. There's definitely a shift happening. And, you know, it's quite funny. It's actually institutions and companies who are not familiar with Bitcoin and market cycles who are FOMOing in, you know, when historically all the indicators are saying that we're about to tank here. And it's the companies who might become the new retail. Just as we were buying in the tariff dip, right? It was the institutions and companies who weren't buying. They were not buying at historically one of the best times to buy. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make sense. The retail have become smart money. It's very odd. It's very odd. And what do I see from this? I actually see some moves in the future. I see, let's say retail are getting smarter. They're dumping their bags on companies and smart money. They're dumping their bags on the institutions. Now we know they're stacked, right? We know they're stacked, and they're going into USDC. They're going into USDT. They know how the cycles work. They know that they need to buy down here when it goes into red, when we go back into red, into bear market. What's the problem with that? Well, if we know retail are stacked and they're planning to buy the dip, then the dip might actually get front run. So if we're expecting it to dip here and we know retail are getting smarter, a lot of people are going to buy shortly before you actually hit the floor, right? This is called front running, and this is why a lot of people actually miss the bottom, because the price gets front run. Like for me, for example, I quite like this indicator, and if I waited for this price to come down to the orange line and it bounced just above, it's probably going to bounce very fast, and then it's very hard for me to try and buy that, right? Because I was like, oh, it was 16k, I don't know if I want to buy it at double the price. It's now 30k. I'm going to wait for it to come back to the orange line. It doesn't come back to the orange line, and then it's 70k, and I've missed the entire run, right? So this is why people front run and they dollar cost average in when you get close to the levels. And you might be buying early, but hey, it's better sometimes to buy a little bit early than it is to actually miss the entire move, because buying back in is so hard. There was a famous YouTuber, he stopped YouTubing last cycle. He used to YouTube a lot. I don't know. I do know why he stopped. He made over $1 billion. So I don't know what island he's on now, but yeah, he stopped you doing YouTube. That's sad, really. You should do what you love. Like, it's sad that he stopped, but he taught me a valuable lesson, and he said, I had the chance to buy Ethereum at $20. I think it was $20. It was something stupid. And he said, I bought it at $20 and it went up so fast. He said it went to $50. And I was like, this is too fast. And he said he put a lot of money in, which is why he took profits. He put a lot of money in. I think he'd made, hundreds of thousands. And he took some profits, and he said, I'm just going to buy it when it comes back down. And then it went to $100. And he was like, how can Ethereum be $100? This is crazy. It's gone up so much, so fast. I can't buy at this level. And then it went to $200. That's when I bought in around $200. And then it just went to 500, and he just said, I was in disbelief. He said he was in disbelief, and he had to watch it go from $20 to $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000, and he said he would have made hundreds of millions. He would have made hundreds of millions of dollars just from holding, yeah. So it's very, very hard when you have a price that you're trying to buy at, or you're close to a bottom, and the market starts to run away from you. It's easy to say now, but when it's 16k and you see it push to 30k, you're constantly saying to yourself, I'm just going to I'm waiting for it to come back. I'm going to wait for a retest. And it can really run. It doesn't care about you. Look how fast it ran here when institutions started buying. This is kind of when the bears said, enough is enough. Look, this thing's going to go higher. And we've missed the bottom. We're just going to buy in at 30k. And they started to really scale in here. So yeah, confluence is key. I think retail are probably going to front run the bottoms, not by much, but I think they're probably going to front run. And I also think that they are stacked, right? So we know that they are taking profits from BTC. We know they're taking profits from Ethereum. This means they have more money to play with going into a bear market. And I think it's going to come in fast because they're trying to scoop this bear market bottom and play the swing trade game. I think it's going to rally really fast. When the market ends, when the bear market ends, I think it's going to send very, very fast. And I think it's also going to be, I think there's also going to be a fast pull up, and then as more and more retail start to come back in, new retail like fresh retail come into the market, who again don't understand market cycles or how the game works. They'll start to buy green candles, start to buy FOMO, and the retail are going to be in so many gains from buying the bear market. I think they're going to take profits again quite early. And again, maybe we'll see another one of these peaks, right? I think we started to take profits 6 months after the rally. It wasn't long, right? It was this first peak here. And, most of our altcoins were up massive. I think Render done a 25x, Casper done a 25x. So many things rallied. And this is kind of what I'm expecting to see again when we come out of the bear market. A really, really aggressive move to the upside. And a lot of profit taking into a long correction. This correction was crazy. It was like 7 or 8 months, and I don't really want to be sitting through that 7 or 8 months wondering what's going on. I'd rather just sell 33% of my portfolio, and then again, bang, next rally, sell 33% of my portfolio, bang, look to sell the final bag What am I doing now? What trades am I in? I'm still in my BTC long. So I posted in my Discord saying I set a limit long order on BTC at 109 40x. So that triggered, didn't hit the stop loss. It triggered, it went just below 109 and started to rally. I've already taken some profits off of this trade. Yeah, you can see it went like 79%. I've already taken some profits off of that. It's just free money now. My stop loss is at entry, so I can't lose. And you know, I hope it pushes up higher. But hey, if it comes down, it's free money. I can't lose now. The pro trader in my Discord actually posted a Solana long position. So in the Discord, we have a pro trader, professional leverage trader, who also gives calls. So I give my calls up here in this is the wallets we're tracking here. I give my calls here in leverage high risk, and then he gives his calls over here. And he gave a really nice call on Solana. I actually aped in a little bit early, and yeah, I think it's up much more than this now. I think I'm on 350% because the price is like 203, 204 or something now. Let's have a look. Where is Solana? Solana 204. Let's go. Let's go. Look at the state of this. 204. Tried to push 205. Let's go. Pump it. Pump it. We know why, right? The treasuries are starting to get in. They're starting to FOMO in. And that buy signal on the monthly is crazy. Look at that. $17. Still no sell on the monthly. Yeah, treasuries are getting in. It still hasn't hit an all-time high. ETH hit an all-time high. I don't know how high it can go here, guys. Like Solana, every time it tries to rally, they just dump it. I don't know. I don't know how high it can go. I'm just trading right now. I'm trading. If you want to join the group, if you want to see our buy and sell alerts, head over to my X. So type this into Twitter, and that's going to bring up the channel. And that's going to show you, that's going to take you to this page, and then click this link, and that will show you my Patreon. It's like an emblem on the left-hand side. You'll see my Patreon link. So once you join Patreon, you can get into the Discord. You can see all the buy and sell alerts. You can see what I'm doing, all my trades, setups. You can track all the smart money on chain. We're tracking all of the smart money on chain, so we can see what all of the smart money are doing in real time. So smart money sent gold. So for some reason they are selling gold. So I'll actually go and look at that today. It'll be interesting to see why they're selling gold. They're selling Pendle, buying Lido, selling Aave. A lot of mixed data, a lot of buying and selling. There's a lot of money being moved around. People are moving their portfolios around. We're seeing a lot of whales go from Bitcoin into Ethereum as well. There's a lot of money being moved around. So you can see loads of this on-chain data. We got KOLs. We're tracking all the KOLs. We're tracking retail, DEX inflows when stuff's coming in to exchanges. So yeah, if you want to join, you want to get access to the Discord. You also get the SMC bot as well. So you get the SMC bot, so you can get all of these buy and sell signals on your own trading view. Yeah, you get them all on your own trading view, so you know you can see all of these buy and sell signals yourself. Still no sell on the weekly. Still no sell on the weekly. We're still on a buy. I will keep you updated with this data, guys. I will keep you updated. Obviously, when we get near to the bottom, I'm probably not going to be talking about it so much because obviously I don't want everyone to front run me. So when we come into this blue zone, you probably won't see me talking too much about I'm buying. But you know, when we get close, when we come into a bear market, I might tell you we're getting close. You know, we don't want everyone frothing in, buying altcoins and stuff at the same time. I've only got a small channel, but word of mouth goes around, right? So yeah, ideally, I'm going to be buying in silence. Yeah, if you want to stay up to date with the moves that we're making and some of this data, like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, let me know what you think. Do you think retail are getting smarter? Do you think they're making a massive mistake? Do you think that they are stupidly selling to companies and it's actually the companies who are now about to win, and you know, and the market's about to send, and retail are about to FOMO back in? It's possible. The data doesn't say that, but it is possible, guys. That's it for now. Until then, I will catch you in the next one.